And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, at sunny Pico Rivera, California, for our 16th Premier Challenge for our Gym Challenge series at Second Observer Collectibles. My name is Jesus Coronel, alongside me is Dennis Geisler, and we are here for final round of Swiss, round number 5. We have potential win-ins here for both of these players. We have Keanu Inosanto and Brian Collins on the screen here with interestingly Pokemon to take. For both sides, we have Keanu on our screen with Chien-Pao, Entei, Ogerpon Wellspring, Landorstarian, Raging Bolt, and Fluttermane. And for Brian, we have Smeargle, Farigiraf, Ursaluna Bloodmoon, Urshifu Single Strike, Ogerpon Heartflame, and Rillaboom.
Yeah, of course, the big thing to note here, this is the first Smeargle we're seeing, at least here at Gym Challenge in Regulation F in Scarlet and Violet. This one with Focus Sash, Spore, Follow Me, Fake Out, and Decorate. It's also Own Tempo and not Moody.
This is probably the most strangest Smeargle I've seen, but if it works out, it works out. Own Tempo, if you guys don't know, blocks Intimidate and blocks Confusion.
Yeah. Which, not a whole lot of things are trying to confuse you right now, and Smeargle doesn't care that much about being intimidated. It just weakens the Fake Out damage a tiny bit.
I mean, no, Own Tempo would just ignore the Intimidate.
Yeah, I'm saying that if the Intimidate went through, then all it would do is lower the Fake Out damage a tiny bit. Moody,
which wouldn't even happen.
Moody would be a little bit weirder, but it also introduces a level of, I guess,
oh, here we go.
Surprise.
The Smeargle is on the screen here. We went to Farigiraf for Brian, and we had Keanu with the Choice Specs Fluttermane and a Entei on the field.
Yeah, this means no priority can come out here.
The only one available, though, was Keanu's Extreme Speed, which can be blocked by that Armor Tail.
Yeah, might be, and yeah, this is actually a tough spot for Smeargle to be in, because Smeargle isn't able to fake out either of these targets. So if it wants to try to slow things down, keep itself up.
That's a Brian Terra.
Yeah, I think it...
Fire to Farigiraf, and it is.
Yeah, fire for a giraffe. I like that. I think it wants to get Trick Room up. Probably. I think this team likes playing in Trick Room quite a bit. They've got the Ursaluna Blood Moon.
Dazzling Link comes out onto both of these Pokemon. Smeargle actually takes it pretty comfortably, actually. That's something surprising to see.
Does it take
Smeargle?
Ooh, it does.
And there's the Snarl there. We're going to move the special attack. More importantly on Farigiraf, less important on the Smeargle. We are going to see the Decorate into this Farigiraf. And you thought Farigiraf was lacking damage? Here's your booster.
Yeah, only at +1 special attack, but still, with the Trick Room, it's going to start actually being kind of dangerous, and it didn't take all that much damage in the first turn. And this, and we were talking about how slow this Smeargle feels. It's built for Trick Room most likely for this situation here, so it'll be able to get another Decorate up, or alternatively potentially go for a Spore on one of these Pokemon.
That Fluttermane, I'm just saying this right now, this Fluttermane's not safe against this Farigiraf because even though it's pretty specially bulky, it's not safe against Psyshock, which is physical damage.
Absolutely not safe against Psyshock at all. Gotta feel really dangerous spot to be in if you are Keanu.
Chien-Pao comes in here for the Entei, probably anticipating a Psyshock to go that way, or just trying to take the Hyper Voice as best you can. Smeargle once again going to Decorate into this Farigiraf, which now is at +3 attack. You thought Life Orb was good, how about Decorate 2 times in a row? Are we going to see a Hyper Voice here? No, we're just going to see the Psyshock, and that's a goodbye Fluttermane.
Yeah, that'll be the end of Fluttermane. And Chien-Pao got in, but now Chien-Pao has to feel pretty uncomfortable. Obviously, it has Focus Sash, so it'll be able to get a hit down onto Farigiraf, but Farigiraf is pretty bulky.
He may not even get a hit on Farigiraf because the Smeargle was following me, so he could just redirect it away.
Yeah, that's true as well. And Smeargle has got to be really uncomfortable to stand around right now, and Smeargle will probably be able to get another Decorate off if it wants, or it can go for a Spore into the Chien-Pao, knowing that there's nothing that can block a Spore into that slot now that Ogerpon Wellspring is on the field. Yeah,
it's a pretty free double attack because, well, not exactly, because Ogerpon's going to be going first before Chien-Pao goes, so I think for Keanu, your objective is to get rid of the Smeargle as best you can so you get Ivy Cudgels uncontested towards the Farigiraf. Although you got to worry about a +3 Hyper Voice coming your way, and then also Follow Me, and potentially just redirect the Smeargle away from the target, which is Farigiraf, or if you have something like that, Urshifu, and there goes the Smeargle back out, and this might be Ogerpon Heartflame coming in for Brian, but no, it's just going to be the Urshifu.
Yeah, it's the Urshifu, and this is a very slow Urshifu with Choice Band. So very interesting set altogether from Brian.
Side Shock tries to go into this Ogerpon, but unfortunately the Spiky Shield will go ahead and block it. Unfortunately for this regrab, it is not insane damage, and Sacred Sword not enough for the knockout.
Yeah, and here's the problem again, is both of these Pokemon for Brian should underspeed the Chien-Pao and the Ogerpon, so they'll hit pretty hard.
How hard is the question? Because Ogerpon's pretty known to be especially bulky, and you still have the Terrestrialization available for that embody aspect.
Yeah, well, and I think something like a Hyper Voice plus Wicked Blow is probably going to be ridiculous damage, because you Hyper Voice, if Ogerpon stays up, you can Wicked Blow into there.
Hyper Voice comes out, and Will takes Chien-Pao to Sash, and that's a lot of damage to Ogerpon.
Yeah, it's a lot of damage, and Chien-Pao... either way, Wicked Blow will finish something off.
It will be the Ogerpon, that's the choice, because you're worried about a super effective fight because we're going that way.
And now, what's the worst thing Chien-Pao can do?
Take its sword into the Urshifu field. Yeah, you take it out. You still have a Smeargle to have to deal with. You have potentially one more Pokemon to deal with, and
yeah, the problem
there's like two more turns to trigger, so it's just like
you're about to get hyper voiced again, and Entei is going to take a lot of damage. And Entei,
oh, it's Ursaluna.
Ooh, it's Ursaluna. Yeah, I think this one's just about done for game number 1, because Hyper Voice plus a Blood Moon into the Entei slot pretty much ends things, I think.
Yeah.
Definitely some information still to be gleaned from some of these Pokemon, but I think the Furgiraf Hyper Voice is going to just absolutely... I mean, it's going to finish off the Chien-Pao, and it will probably do a lot to the Entei. I'm curious how much at +3.
Well, we're going to see Keanu go for a different Terra of his own. It's going to be Heat. The Entei goes into the Grass type to resist Earth Power, but if this double Hyper Voice coming out, I don't know how much damage you're going to be really wanting to take right now.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Hyper Voice 1 comes up with his Ursaluna. Doesn't do a lot of damage to the Entei here with that Assault Vest. That's a KO on the Chien-Pao as well. Life Orb damage going to be taken here. Side Shock instead of Hyper Voice. And it is enough for the knockout. Ryan Collins wins game 1 pretty comfortably.
Yeah, and that was definitely just a great turn 1 play. And I liked Keanu's lead up against this duo from... up against this Smeargle. The problem is that they weren't able to get the Smeargle out of the way. I kind of dislike the Snarl play because it kind of forced a little bit more of a passive playstyle out of Keanu, when realistically, I think if you were more aggressive, get the Smeargle out of the way early, maybe even do much bigger damage to the Farigiraf, you're potentially putting it in a much more dangerous spot. I don't know how comfortable it would feel if it had to have a full health Entei and a full health Fluttermane just sitting in front of it. Like, what is your decision there? Do you try to Hyper Voice? It won't finish off the Entei. Do you try to Psyshock? It finishes off the Fluttermane, but Entei is now going to hit you really hard, even if you're Terrifier, especially if you're Terrifier with Stomping Tantrum. So I honestly think the lead worked for Keanu. I just think that the decision-making past that was the problem.
Yeah, especially because that Spear Watch made the Farigiraf a lot more dangerous than it really should have been, because we see it in the past Geo with that signature Farigiraf with the Life Orb, you know, that was doing damage on its own, but Snarl would circumvent that. Fortunately, Smeargle does have Decorate access because it's not locked away from Alchemy exclusively.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that I think you have to... The Smeargle getting the second Decorate off, I think, was a bigger deal than anything else, and the Smeargle was stayed up. It was able to threaten using a Follow Me, keep the damage away. Like, you've got to get Smeargle out of there quick, I think, is the big thing, and I think here, just focusing down the Smeargle turn 1 is not a bad decision if you're Keanu going for a choice here.
Yeah, and now we're going to see here a couple... I think we're going to see... I guess we got to figure out if there could be any switch-ups from any of these players, because Ryan, I felt like, led pretty comfortably into those two special attackers, because I feel like that Smeargle is a lot more specially bulky than a lot of people would realize.
Yeah.
I guess it just comes down to who does what better. Brian's going to lead Smeargle and Farigiraf again, so no changes in that aspect, and it's going to be Entei Ogerpon this time for Keanu.
Yeah, I think the issue here is that now Smeargle has a target to Fake Out, and I don't know, probably the worst that could happen in that case would be eating a bunch of damage and then Ogerpon using Spiky Shield to take down the Focus Sash immediately, but I think for a Giraffe in this spot has to feel fairly comfortable to just straight up Trick Room, and Smeargle can either, yeah, it can follow me as well.
Yeah, he's going to have to follow me here and make sure the Farigiraf stays safe going for the Trick Room, because you definitely don't really taking Sacred Fire Burn at this point, and that is really easily going to take the Smeargle down the Focus Sash.
Yeah, but that's not a bad thing at all, because you get the Trick Room up and you get Ursaluna onto the field for free.
But we're going to have to see if it is actually Ursaluna coming into the board here, because we saw how lot of Ursaluna, Urshifu was, and it was doing a good amount of damage.
It honestly could be the Urshifu as well. That would not be a terrible decision, but I like the Ursaluna a little bit better in this spot.
I guess, well, Ursaluna is doing a whole lot of damage. I mean, you can't get redirected, and there's the Urshifu couldn't come in here, you know. I was about to mention that Ogerpon can just Terra, go for follow me, make sure your damage is just like very minimally outputted, but I guess in this situation, Keanu's not like in a terrible spot. It's just like, what do you do with this Ogerpon? Because I think it's more likely he's going to get hit with a Hyper Voice and then Wicked Blow.
Yeah, that's the thing, is I think that the Wicked Blow plus Hyper Voice, there's not a whole lot of negatives to that right now. Or even a helping hand onto the Wicked Blow to make sure it finishes off the Ogerpon. Because Entei's not threatening all that much damage right now. It's threatening, the burn isn't even that important onto the Urshifu. Yeah.
Oh, it's going after the Entei instead here. We'll take the Entei down with it, so Sacred Fire not going to be a factor anymore, so Ursa's going to try to stay safe away from getting burned by the Sacred Fire here. Because it goes into this Farigiraf, does have,
but that's definitely not enough. And the Farigiraf, I mean, you've got to get the Farigiraf out of the way because you have all this priority that you might want to play around. But if you're Brian, you've got to feel pretty comfortable just sitting on this Farigiraf, and again, you can just kind of Hyper Voice Wicked Blow again.
Well, we have Chien-Pao now coming in here, Keanu, for a second game in a row. It's definitely the slowest thing in the field right now. You have Urshifu walking the Wicked Blow, which still threatens the Ogerpon based on how slow it was. I mean, it's definitely slower than the Ogerpon for Keanu. Brian has a pretty good way to have his Urshifu taking Ogerpon down with it. It's just like, what do you do against this Chien-Pao? Because for Farigiraf, I don't think it's safe anymore.
I think you're right, but at the same time, Chien-Pao's not safe either. Chien-Pao can't really do much, and it's going to get hit pretty hard with the Hyper Voice. Yeah.
It is taking half damage, and down goes Ogerpon with his Wicked Blow. Okay, if you're Chien-Pao, who do you target here? Do you take your sword Urshifu here, or do you go for Ice Spin?
You have to get the Farigiraf out of the way here.
Okay, yeah, so you have the Ice Crash. Oh, Ice Crash actually, so it is going to be able to connect. We'll finish at the Farigiraf, so Armatail's now gone.
Yeah.
Meaning if somebody got that Raging Bolt in the back, you can't just go ahead and threaten it with Thunderclap, and it is the Raging Bolt in the back for Keanu, but it has to meet with Brian's Ursaluna.
Yeah, and that's the problem here, is they're able to spam out the priority moves, but are the priority moves going to finish off either of these targets? I think Ursaluna can probably... I feel like Ursaluna can probably take down the Raging Bolt in one Earth Power, or alternatively finish off Chien-Pao in one Earth Power, and Urshifu can hit Raging Bolt with Wicked Blow for tons of damage. Like, it's going to be really difficult to work around this and try to get one of the two knockouts here.
Brian going ahead and Terra here. So he's going to go ahead and boost damage. Oh wait, no, he's going to Paragrass onto this Urshifu, which is an interesting Terra, you know, something to, you know, combat, I would believe, Rage Pattern and Spore. It's not going to be good against this Chien-Pao if you get it right correctly, and
it's defensive against that electric.
Oh yeah,
against the Raging Bolt damage.
Yeah, especially since it's going Terra Electric here as well with that long neck of his.
Very long neck to wear an even taller hat.
It's a light bulb. Thunderclap comes out here. It is going against this Urshifu. It's not known for a special bulk, but yeah, that's not a lot.
Yeah, and I mean with how slow it is, it's got to be bulky.
Sucker Punch is not enough for the knockout either. Hyper Voice comes over his Ursaluna, knocks out the Chien-Pao. Is Wicked Blow enough to finish the game for Brian?
I think it will be.
Only one way to find out right now is Ursaluna finally takes another turn with Life Orb Recoil. Wicked Blow into the Raging Bolt. It's enough for the knockout. Brian Collins wins 2-0 and likely secures the top cut spot.
Yeah, and I really liked how that team played out. I really like the way that Smeargle and Farigiraf can play around each other to make sure that Trick Room gets up. I think my biggest issue with it is how good Farigiraf actually is as a Trick Room sweeper. It's not the it's not the highest damage Pokemon in the world. It does not have the most special attack. It does not have the most ideal moves that it can use, but it certainly worked here, and if you're able to get Smeargle out of the way early or get the Decorate onto the Giraffe, then you can be pretty happy with the stuff that stands alongside Giraffe as Giraffe provides that auxiliary damage.
Yeah, you only know how much damage it can do because Giraffe, usually a lot of people know it for being defensively supportive, but here today we're seeing it being aggressively being used. And that's going to be concluding round number 5 for us here on the Swiss rounds. We'll have Top Cut coming in soon, and once we do, we'll have our final 8 players. I can imagine we see some familiar faces from yesterday as well into the mix, and we'll be right back once we have all the information.